Come Play With Us, and today I'm going to be reviewing Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, a game by Ryan Laukat. This is the second game in the series, the first one just being Sleeping Gods. It came out a couple of years ago. And spoiler alert, I really loved that original game. It's one of my top games of all time, so I was really curious to see how he improved the game and how this one would play. So let's get to it. I'm not going to do an overview of this game. If you want an overview, I've got a playthrough on the channel. I'll link to it in the show notes below. Otherwise, I'm just going to review the mechanics and the gameplay. I'm also not going to review the full campaign story. I haven't finished the whole campaign yet. I feel the game's not really a campaign. It's more like a really long game that you save at points. Because there's no chapters or sessions or anything like that. You just kind of play until you don't feel like playing anymore, pack it up, save it, and next time you feel like playing, you pull it out and continue from where you left off until you get to an end point. Let's start by talking about the components for this game. The components are very good. The art is gorgeous on all the components. Of course, I love Ryan Laukat's art. It's on everything in this game: the cards, the maps, the player boards, everything. It's all really gorgeous art that fits the theme, really brings the theme out in the game and brings out the story. I like this map book. It's the same idea as in the first game. Of course, we're not in a sea this time. We're on land and we're walking around instead of boat going from port to port. But otherwise, it works the same. You have the big map here, and then you flip to the map pages. When you go off the map, it tells you what page to flip to. You go to that. So I like the using the books for this. I love the adventure games that incorporate this books. I think it works a lot better than doing hex tiles and stuff like that. Frosthaven recently came out with the same thing. They came out with a set of books for it. Unfortunately, they're like $80, so I don't think I'll be getting those. I mean, you can see it's in the back. I haven't opened it yet. But it's disappointing that they didn't have that out of the gate. I think the concept of using hex tiles for big campaign games should go away, and they should stick to these books. It makes the setup so much easier. I know you can't do the variable, random setup or anything like that, but how often do you do that with those kind of games? So I like the use of it in here. All the tokens are really nice. You got a couple of minis. That's all you really need for this one. And it has the same kind of, a lot of this is, if you played Sleeping Gods, is familiar. It's the same wooden tokens from the original game. There's some slight tweaks, and there's the same cards. You got the small ability cards and the tarot-sized monster cards. Those are really nice. Yeah, so component-wise, I'd say, on par with the original, really good. And nothing really much to say about that. The only thing, probably the components that I'm a little worried about is the storybook, because it's a ringed binder, and these pages. The art in here is really nice and it's laid out really well, but the pages are thin and they kind of bend, like they don't. Sometimes the pages don't quite turn very well, and I'm worried I might tear a page, so I'm really careful when I flip through this book, but that's kind of a minor gripe. The rule books are well written. I like the fact that they've included the tutorial introduction book with a comic, and that works really well. It's a nice quick way to get into the game. And then the full rules, it's very similar to the original, laid out very similar to the original game. I don't have a problem finding any of the rules in here. It's well written. There's an index on the back and an icon reference on the back. So yeah, that's all well done. So component wise, nothing to complain about there. So what do I not like about this game? It's hard to put a finger on it. I think if I had to pick something that I didn't like, and it's more in comparison to the original game, I think if you're new to this game, there's really not much not to like about this, but I'm not sure I'm totally sold on the new action system for the turns, like using the clock to all the actions costing a certain amount of time, and then spending time on that. And there's only 5 actions in the game. I find mostly you're just doing the move and explore, and then once in a while you're going to camp to reset, to get your health back and reset your fatigue. And then once in a while you're going to fly to jump around on the map, and then of course you have to repair your plane. It's a little lacking. It's nice that they streamlined that and they made the game quicker. I think I could see how this would be a big improvement in a multiplayer game. I don't really play this multiplayer. I've played the original one multiplayer and it was fine, but I do prefer this as a solo game. I think, although I might try. I'll have to try this one multiplayer. I haven't played this one multiplayer, so this review will be purely on solo base. But I played most of the original solo, and I've been playing this one solo. And so for the solo game, I think I liked the original system with the ship where you're picking spots, and there was just more agency, meatier decisions on which spaces to take for the turn and how the command token system worked compared to this new time system. I just found, especially at the very beginning of the game, I was kind of dull. I was just doing the same thing, moving around, going to the story points, and the stories that I was hitting, maybe just that beginning area is just kind of light on action, but I was just picking up quests, and it was just kind of they were quick turns, but they weren't very interesting until I started running into some monsters to fight, and then once I had my first couple of battles, it got a lot more interesting, and I got more into the game. So that's probably my biggest dislike in this game. Now I can go to the likes. I love this game. It's essentially the bones are the same as Sleeping Gods. It's an open world game. I've said that before on my channel that open world story based games are my favorite type of games in video games, and I'm loving the fact that they're coming to board games, and there's lots of different ones coming out, and they're getting better and better all the time. I've looked at quite a few of them on this channel already, and it's kind of funny that it's all the second editions basically coming out, and we got Kings of Ruin, we had Seventh Citadel, and now Distant Skies, Sleeping God, and they're all improvements on the original game. So I think it's hard to say what I like about this game without talking about the original game. So what I'm mostly going to talk about what's an improvement, because I think essentially this is a great game. If you want a game where you just go out and explore a world and see what's around the next corner and follow these storylines, and get to join some factions or help certain factions out against each other, this is that game. I believe I read an article about when Ryan Laukat made the first game that he was going for was basically Skyrim, the board game, and I think he has kind of nailed that in board game format. It's not overly complex. The system is fairly simple to run, but you get all that richness of being able to just like explore around and engage with the world. And Ryan Laukat's worlds are really interesting. There's lots of cool stuff to explore. So how did he improve this one? I think mostly he spent most time was spent on streamlining certain aspects of the game. So like I said, this system with the time, although I think this more improves probably the multiplayer game than the solo game. I think I could see the benefits of this in a multiplayer game more, because the turns would be quicker, and you wouldn't be waiting as long for your turn to come around. In the solo game, I think it actually takes away a little bit from the game experience, because it's just kind of there, and it's very simple. The other big change, the biggest change probably, is in the combat. When they introduced the combat cards, so in combat now you're going to draw a hand of cards, and then you're going to play a card on each of your characters to do the attack. Otherwise, the system is the same. I love the combat system in the original game. I find it really interesting you have this grid, right? That that has the abilities baked in of the thing you're fighting. So you can, when you're strategizing, you can say, okay, I can either try to go for a quick kill by taking out the hearts on the cards, or I could try to start by taking out, whittling down their powers and their strength and making them weak, and then take them out after. I love that decision. And then how to kind of use your. They have that splash damage mechanic that you can use. There's lots of neat. It's like kind of a puzzle every time you're fighting, and they've retained that puzzle from the original Sleeping Gods. But I think they've taken a big step forward with the combat card system. I think the original system was interesting and puzzly, but they've now made it more fun. I find the combat cards fun to use. It makes combat. It's just fun now. Like it was a bit of a grind before. I like puzzly, so the puzzly people probably really loved it, and I like that puzzly thing. But they didn't lose that by adding the combat cards. They just made the fighting more interesting and a little bit more fun. That's how I can describe it. It's just more. It's more the combat's more fun. I'm like looking forward to the combat instead of going, oh, I don't really want to fight right now or whatever. No, the combat in here is a blast. I think he's perfected the system in this game. Yeah, it's probably the most fun part of the game now. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Other things that is some smaller tweaks. So they've got these new kind of quest cards that have like a picture of one of the squares on the map, and you kind of got to watch out for that picture. And then there's a treasure there that will get you some stuff. That's neat. It's kind of like little treasure hunting quests that you can go on. There's quite a few of those in the game. There's some other neat little things, more puzzly things in here that I don't want to spoil, but they're kind of interesting that weren't in the original. The other big change is the totems now. You don't, at the beginning of the game, you get, they give you basically a bunch of totems to start, but the totems aren't activated. So I think they're trying to take away the fact that it could be a little bit lucky trying to find totems in the game when the score basically, the game is based on how many totems you find. In this game, it's not as much about finding them. I mean, you're still looking for them, but they give you a kind of a head start. But the catch is they're not activated in this game. So you've got the totems, but they're dormant, and then you got to find resources to activate them. So it's more about finding the resources to activate the totems, less about searching them out. So I like that because that kind of takes away a little bit of that luck of, oh, I was just unlucky, I didn't find enough totems to get a good score. So that's a nice improvement, and it gives you something a little to go for, trying to get those special resources. The resources for those come from quests, so it kind of forces you to do the quests and search around a bit. Very good. Yeah, I like that change. Makes the game pretty fun. The other thing I like is these new encounters. So not all the story encounters are just stories. Sometimes you get a page like this, and it's a little worker placement exploration. So you take your worker, there's standees for each of the characters, and then they become workers, and you can go to different decide which spaces you want to go to on this like little worker spot, and you get a bunch of things. This is cool. I like this. It breaks up the monotony of the stories a bit and gives you something else to do. And I mean, the art's really nice, so it's thematic. Yeah, I really like that change. That's cool. And then in here also there are giant boss monsters that you can fight. I have not actually encountered a boss monster yet, so I can't really review this, but this looks cool. I can't wait to fight one of these things. Well, scared to fight one of these things at the same time as I'm kind of looking forward to fighting one of these guys to see how that works. But yeah, that's another cool change. There's a boss fight. There's boss fights in this one, so yeah, I think those changes are pretty awesome and make a good game mechanically better. So overall, how do I feel about this game compared to Sleeping Gods? So Sleeping Gods is like I said, it's in my top 10, probably in my top 10 games of all time. I gave the original game a 9. I'm having a tough time figuring out how to score this one because mechanically I like a lot of what they did with the streamlining to make it easier. I haven't done the full campaign yet, so I can't really comment on if the story is better or not. But so far, I'm really interested in the story. And I mean, I've played this for 3 or 4 hours already, so it's keeping me really engaged, and I keep coming back to it and play it. So in that vein, it's the same as Sleeping Gods that I really want to see what's around that next corner and follow my little trails here of all the quests that I have to do. So in that mode, I'm finding it just the same as the original Sleeping Gods. I think I'm coming in on this one a little higher than the original. I think I like this a little bit better because, like I said, the combat is more fun. Maybe it takes it down a little bit. So I think for this one, I'm going 9.5. It's close to being perfect. A little bit better than the original one. And I definitely, if you're coming at the Sleeping Gods for the first time, I would start with this one and play through this one. And if you love this game, then go on to the other one, which is more complicated and a little harder, but probably a little deeper as far as the story goes. I mean, this one I didn't do the Kickstarter, but I think this is the whole world. In the original one, you had an expansion that made the map bigger, and then you also had the dungeon, so you could go into a dungeon and explore the dungeon, which was really cool. This one I don't believe has those things, but I could be wrong. I didn't really explore the Kickstarter too deeply, but I haven't seen any expansions or anything out there retail for this. There is the Perilous. I can't remember the name of it, but it's kind of like the really simple version of Sleeping Gods. I haven't tried that. I tried it digitally when they released it during the Kickstarter, but I haven't tried the actual physical version of that. I guess if you really want to start somewhere, you could start with that one because it's small and probably quicker than that. But I could see this one's pretty easy to get into. The rules are a lot lighter than the original. It plays quick and smooth, and so I don't see any problems starting with this one. It's not that complicated. And then if you love it, like I said, you go on and do the other one. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. So thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you next time.